Hi, it's Paul. In this clip we're going to look at an example of a follicular neoplasm. So the major difference that we notice with these as opposed to a normal pattern is a predominance of microfollicles and an absence, or else a very small amount, of colloid. This is a pap stain, wasn't as good as the Giemsa in this case, but you can see even at this power the way the follicles are aligned in quite small little rounded follicles or groups. Also notice there's quite a bit of blood, but there's really not a lot of colloid in the background. This is a Diffquix. The Giemsas, they are much better, and you can see cruising along here there is an absence of colloid, and then notice how there's just a pattern that's made up of lots of small follicles. So all the epithelial cells are arranged in these little rounded groups. Slightly high power, you can see the way the little nuclei are arranged around like almost an acinar or follicular arrangement, and they're really quite uniform in size. The main thing also is that there's really no macro follicles here. So all of these follicles are made up of maybe, a dozen or so nuclei or less. If we look at them on a high power, you can see that's illustrated quite well. And notice how the nuclei are not sort of perfectly in a rounded arrangement. Often there'll be one or two nuclei that are just out of position. So it'll be overlapping with another one or sticking out too far. And so it's a microfollicular pattern, and often the follicular cells are a little bit disrupted in that. And notice how repetitious it is. So it's really all just little follicles, pretty much all the same size. So just to summarize, follicular neoplasms include follicular adenoma and follicular carcinoma, so non-invasive and invasive lesions respectively. We can't tell those two apart based on cytology. It requires excision of the lesion and a very detailed histologic examination to look for vascular and capsular invasion by the lesion. This doesn't matter because the treatment is the same for both. So follicular neoplasms are characterized cytologically as being usually quite cellular, but lacking the amount of colloid that you would expect to see with that number of cells. The follicular cells themselves are arranged in a very repetitious microfollicular pattern, so made up of follicles of less than 20 nuclei. They may show hurdle cell differentiation, but I haven't demonstrated that at this time, and we won't cover that in this clip.